Yue is a young boy who has a body different from that what our normal world calls a pretty or handsome body. He is fat, and he is huge. He looks much older than his age, and he is most discriminated against by everyone, including his parents. He has 2 siblings who are opposed to him. They look good, and they are handsome compared to him. Growing up as a child, he knows that the world isn't one that will accept him. He has no one who loves him, and no one wants to be friends with him. But he keeps on with it, hoping that one day, he will help someone. At the series beginning, he is crossing the road alone as his huge shadow overshadows the entire ground. He keeps walking and thinking about the life he is living until he hears a voice around him. Inquisitively, he tries to find where the voice is coming from, and he eventually sees that it's from a young girl, Kaori, who has been ambushed on the road by older men, and about 3 of these men for that matter. They ask her to join them for tea, but she refuses. She tells them she wants to leave and that they should leave her to go, but they refuse to leave her. They tell her that she should remain with them and play with them for a while, despite seeing that it is obvious that she isn't interested. She keeps begging them to let her go, but they refuse to do that. They pin her to the wall, leaving her with no chance of leaving. Yuga feels the girl needs help, and one of the reasons he has been encouraging himself to stay alive is that one day, someone will need his help, so seeing her in that condition makes him feel like helping her, and he goes to meet the men. It's obvious he isn't that courageous, but he does it regardless. The men notice him around them and ask if they can help him. He looks at them for a while before telling them that he can see the young girl isn't interested in what they are saying, and if they can, they should leave her. They wonder where he has gotten his audacity from, and they bounce in him. All that can be seen after that hit is the splashes of his blood, which is seen in front of Kaori. She feels bad for him as these men hit him until he almost dies. When he collapses, Kaori's convoy arrive, and the men realize they may have killed someone, so they run away. Kaori goes nearer to him and asks him how he is doing. She asks if he wants to visit the hospital, and the convoy also come out. He tells her he is okay, and that's not the first time he is experiencing things like that. He walks home alone, and as he reaches his house, which was given to him by his late grandfather, he remembers the words of his late grandfather that in this life, no matter what a person is going through, he shouldn't let go of an opportunity to do kindness to another person, because that's where he will get his happiness from. He opens the door to the house and lies on the bed, looking at his grandpa's portrait. He has always been lonely all his life. He was bullied everywhere he gets to, from elementary school to middle school, and even at home, he is discriminated from his 2 siblings. His mother will tell him that he shouldn't put his clothes on with that of his siblings, and they will also laugh at him. Despite the fact that they are attending the same school, his younger siblings have never behaved as if they knew him. The only person who was kind to him was his grandfather. He would sit him down and teach him all the things about life. Unfortunately, his grandfather died. He remembers the day his grandfather died and how he stayed in front of the corpse crying because he knew his life would be dark from that moment. After his grandfather's death, the older man leaves him with all his property, including the house. His parents try to get this property from him, but due to the great groundwork that his grandfather has done, they can't succeed. They angrily disown him because of that, so now he lives alone in his grandfather's house and takes part-time jobs to make a living. He is used to being bullied, and all he has gone through in middle school doesn't get him too angry. He is eventually graduating from middle school, and he is so excited about it because he feels that it will be the end of his bullying period. He goes to the school's 61st graduation ceremony, and as every student collects their yearbook happily, he collects his with tears on his face because his page on the book is filled with foul words like fatty, ugly, and every other insult. He takes the book and walks away from the school. On his way home, some of his bullies come to him. The boy hits him on his back, and he falls. He asks him if he thinks that because he has graduated, he will be free from him. He says that for the sake of bullying him, he has to take an extra year in middle school. They hit him, and all the students look, including his siblings. He begs them that he needs to go for his part-time job, which is newspaper delivery, and he needs to get there on time. But they don't care. That evening, after they are done with him, they leave him and go home. He packs himself from the floor, and he goes to his part-time work. But it's late already. His employer asks him why he is just coming, and if he thinks the job is a joke, he tries to explain what has happened. But his boss tells him he has called a replacement, and from the following day, he shouldn't come to work again. Yue is tired. He walks home sadly and sits and eats the cup noodles he has brought on his way. He blesses the food and eats it. He goes to the bathroom to clean his face, and when he sees his ugly face in the mirror, he gets angry. He punches the mirror, wondering why he has graduated from middle school when the bullying he is passing through won't stop. He wonders what is the use of his life at that point. He punches the mirror until the mirror breaks and scatters. Blood drips from his hand, but he doesn't care. He stops punching the mirror and he goes to hit the wall. As he does so, a door opens. He realizes that there is actually a hidden door in that house. He sees several artifacts in the room, and he wonders where they are from. He remembers that his grandfather used to travel within worlds, and whenever he returned, he would keep what he brought. He figures that's the room his grandfather puts everything he brings from the trips. He sees a door by the side of the wall. He wonders what the door is for, and he goes to open it. When he does so, he gets a notification. The system notifies him that the appraisal skill has been acquired. The endurance skill has been acquired. The title Master of the Door has been acquired. The title of Master of the House has also been gotten. So also the title of the Otherworlder, and finally the title of the first-time traveler to a different world. It's the last one that catches his fancy first. He wonders what is the title of a first-time traveler to the different world, and when he clicks it, the system brings an explanation that it is a door which suddenly appears on a planet and connects to another world. Even the gods do not know why it appeared, and its destination isn't set in advance. But once it connects to another world, the destination is fixed. The door's master can utilize its many options, but the door can't be destroyed. He eventually understands what it means and tries to know more about the other titles and skills. When he clicks on them, the system brings several explanations. He sees some new skills that he doesn't understand at all. He sees asset conversion, transfer and restriction, and some other skills. He tries to check his status, but to his shock, he is of 0 status and all his skills are on level 0. He also sees that he has an item box. He feels that if he gets to the other world, he may call other skills, so he enters into the other world. And when he gets there, he checks through the window and confirms that he isn't in the same world. He is excited that he has left the wicked world for a more comfortable one. And he sees a letter on the table. He tries to read the letter, but it's impossible. At that point, he gets another system notification that he has gotten another skill called the language comprehension skill, so he can comprehend the language of that world. He takes the letter and reads it. In the letter, he sees that the owner of that house is about to commit suicide. So he leaves that letter for the first person who gets into that world and enters that house. The first person who enters that house will have ownership of the house, and he will be the only one who can enter the house. He can use and control anything on the property, and the property is his. He looks around, looking at what could be valuable in the property. He sees several weapons, and he takes the first one, which is the ominous or the sharp edge. He takes the sword out and uses it to train. He falls down because he can't use a sword, and when he returns it, he gets the skill of swordsmanship. He goes to use the spear, which the system calls the absolute spear. He trains with it and takes the death scythe. He then goes for the infinite gauntlets, and he uses it to train. After training with all the tools in the house, his system tells him to drop the weapon, and he gains the skill called true martial art. A very long weapon comes out in replace of the ones he has dropped. He holds it thinking of what to do with it. He suddenly sees a bloody ogre in front of the compound. The ogre makes noises and tries to enter, but the fence stops the ogre from entering. He closes his ears but remembers he is the only one with access to that compound. So there is no way the ogre can enter, but the ogre keeps disturbing him with noises. He considers using the weapon in his hand, and he uses it to stab the ogre. The ogre dies immediately, and its remains disappear. After the ogre disappears, several other body parts of the ogre remain. He sees the magic stone bee, the fang of an ogre, the folds of the bloodstained ogre, and also the gauntlet of the bloodstained ogre. He sees that his levels have increased, and he can also add levels up. He checks his notification status for any new thing, and when he is done, he feels it's time for him to return to his world. As he gets to the door of the other world, the asset converter converts all the things he has earned into cash. It's about 1,500,000 yen, and he can spend it in his normal world. He takes the money and returns home. The next day, he feels some pain in his body. As his body shrinks, he sees that his chest has changed and also his body. His clothes no longer size him, and he tries to check himself in the mirror, but he has broken his mirror. He needs new clothes, but he can use his otherworldly powers to create clothes for himself, so he wears them regardless. He returns to the other world and goes to the field to plant herbs and other magical leaves. He gets used to the way of life in that world, although he still fears about what he will go through in his normal world. He is used to the animals disturbing his fence in the other world, so anytime he sees them, he doesn't bother himself and he just takes his weapon to kill it. After killing that day's beast, he gets the Hell Slime Core, Hell Slime Jelly, and Magic Stone. When he leaves the other world that day, he changes the money and plans to use it to get a new uniform. He measures for his uniform and sews it. He returns to the other world, where he kills a goblin. He is concerned that school resumes the day after and he will be bullied. He resumes school, and all eyes are on him. He doesn't know how good he looks and why everyone is looking at him. He goes to his class, and his usual bullies come to him. They ask him if he is a transfer student, but he tells them he is Yuya. They refuse to believe he is that pig, and even his siblings are jealous and shocked. He runs to the bathroom to check his face, and when he sees himself, he is shocked too. His new life is that which he isn't used to. He becomes not only the talk of the class and even the talk of the school, but he walks around and his siblings even get jealous of him. That day, the school receives some strange visitor. A car stops in front of the school, and the driver opens the door for a young girl. The girl turns out to be Kaori, the young girl who Yuya has saved at the beginning of the series. She steps down from the car, and coincidentally, Yuya is also around the car park. She calls his name out, and she asks if he knows her. She tells him that she knows him and he has slimmed down a lot.